rules and super rules.
Thank you, God.
We know, God, that you are in control of every situation.
Thank you, God. Thank you,
Even
God.
the things that we're not in control of. They don't surprise you. They don't stun you. They don't mess you up. We also know, Lord, that you are a miracle worker.
Yes,
Promise keeper.
yes.
Right now, God, we pray that your healing hand would move even in this place today.
Yes.
Straighten out those things that may be just a bit off kilter. Keep our minds and our hearts fixed and stayed on you. It's easy to be concerned about other things and miss what's important. So even right now, Lord, as we come to this place, we pray, Lord, help us to focus on your word today. Open our eyes that we might see. Open our ears that we might hear. Open our hearts that we might believe and receive your word. You are an awesome God. And we want to give you our undivided attention. Keep us in your care today, oh God, in all of our endeavors. Watch over us, Lord, when we can't watch over ourselves. Take care of us when we can't take care of ourselves. Take worry out of our minds. Fears from our thinking. Help us to wholly trust and believe in you. Now, Lord, we pray, make your word plain. Give us wisdom and understanding. John said in his word that he must decrease while you must increase. And that is my prayer today. Lord, let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be found acceptable in your sight. For you are my strength and you are my redeemer. It is in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen. If you would today, pray with me if you would turn to an Old Testament passage of scripture found in the book of First Chronicles. First Chronicles, Old Testament book of First Chronicles. There in chapter number 4 of First Chronicles, we will find our lesson for the moment. First Chronicles chapter number 4. First Chronicles chapter number 4. First Chronicles chapter number 4. 2 verses speak to us today. Beginning at verse number 9, it says, Now Jabez was more honorable than his brother, and his mother called his name Jabez, meaning he will cause pain, saying, because I bore him in pain. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, Oh, that you would bless me indeed, and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain.
Thank you, God.
And I like this last phrase. So God granted him what he requested.
Amen. Yes,
May the Lord bless reading, hearers, and doers of his word. Passionate prayer of a man named Pain. Passionate prayer of a man named Pain. Or a prayer for the turnaround. Some labels, some monikers, some nicknames stick with us all of our lives.
Right.
And these labels become the names that over time begin to shape us and define who we are.
Yes.
After all, we've been called by these nicknames so long and that they become part of our personalities. And the reason why we would call them in the first place was because they exhibit or they represent some anomaly in our characters. And so these names become what people see and think about us.
Yes.
And I need to confess for a moment because I too had a nickname. You know, so I want to confess. And you know, I know when we confess, everybody loves a confession.
All right now.
And so I did. When I was growing up, I had several nicknames growing up, but there was one nickname that I suffered with through the years that I didn't ask for. In fact, when I was growing up and I was in junior high school, I garnered the name Big Bird.
All right now.
And it wasn't because I like yellow. I was called Big Bird in junior high school because when I was in junior high school, I was a head taller than everybody else in my class. And so because I was a head taller than everybody else in my class, somebody said, let's call him Big Bird. Fortunately, I stopped growing and everybody else started. But the fact of the matter is that I got this nickname that I didn't ask for, and the name stuck with me. And that begs the question that how many of us are still known by our nickname? You know, the name that we don't particularly like, but when people call us, they still call us by our nickname. How many answer to Pookie, Pee-wee, Pooh and Peanut? Y'all know it. And if you got daddies or mamas in the house, how many of us got little or big tacked in front of our name? You know, Little Bill or Big Sam. How many are still called Pudding, Precious, and June Boo, sister or brother or twin or Peaches or Dimple or Fat Mom? Day-Day, Dollar, or Squeaky, or Smoke, most of us.
All right now.
Got those nicknames because it signifies something about our character and something that folks saw in us. But what about the names that stigmatize us? What about those names that folk give us that we got because of the color of our skin? What about those names they call us because of the grade of our hair? What about the names that we got because of the way we talk or because of the side of the track that we came from? What about the names that we got because people understood that we had some kind of handicap or ailment or impediment? Folk called us names that we didn't like. Most of us were given these monikers as signs of affection, but what about the name that they gave us designed to hurt us? What about the names that cause trauma and pain? How do you get over that? How do you live through what people call you and think about you? How do you go from being talked down to turning it around? Well, that's what I want to try to think about or look at today and discover, because today we're going to be introduced to a man that every time his name was called, he was reminded of his supposed character flaw. And even worse, it was not his nickname, it was his name. And here's my question: what do you do when even your name signifies pain? I mean, what do you do when your life has been marked for trouble from birth? How do you live life when you know that when others see you, they cannot see any good in you because of the name that you have? All they see is the bad. All they see is what your name signifies. How do you live with yourself? How do you make it through life when your life has been marked and labeled by heartache and pain? I mean, where do you turn, my brother? Where do you go, my sister, when the mention of your name brings ridicule and scorn? Well, the Bible tells us that his name literally means that he brought pain. That was his name. His name was Jabez. It means he who brings pain. And no doubt some of us are living in that place of pain ourselves. We've been living in the shadow of that pain. We've been labeled those people who brought pain by our family. Every time they see you, every time they look at you, every time they hear your name, all they see is trouble. Just the mention of your name reminds them of heartache and disappointment. No doubt some of us have been labeled that way. No doubt some of us are called troublemakers, black sheep, rabble rousers. Some of us are called illegitimate. Some of us have been called no good. Some of us have been known as the bad seed. No doubt, my brother, no doubt, my sister, you have been falsely branded. You have been misnamed. You have been mislabeled. But you have worn that stigma so long that people have started to see you as what they call you. There's power in what you are named. Be careful what you name folk. Because what you are named is often what you become, but not always. There is hope for a turnaround. Jabez proves that today. He proves that despite what you are called, you don't have to wear it and you don't have to become it. You can pray and you can trust God for the turnaround. And that's what we'll discover today in this text. We'll discover that God is the master of the turnaround. We'll discover that this man who was called pain by his mama prayed a passionate prayer and God answered his request. Look at what the text says, and we'll notice how this turnaround was orchestrated. You see, he moved from being the black sheep. He moved from being the one who caused pain. He moved to being the one who was called honorable before God. And as we view his story, perhaps we can draw strength from that approach. Perhaps we can look at the fact that even though folks see you one way, you don't have to stay that way. Because here's what I discovered. Turnarounds are not easy, but they can be accomplished. We often feel trapped by what folks say about us or what they think about us. We feel like we got our backs against the wall. We feel bound up, tied up, shackled up, chained up by the weight that people put on us. But we know that even though folks think that about us, we don't have to be what they think.
That's right.
But you can't make this turnaround by yourself. You need somebody to help you. And I've discovered, y'all, that stigmas and stereotypes don't die easily, but they can die. They don't have to follow you all your life. You can initiate a turnaround. How people see you may not change overnight. It may not make a whole lot of difference right away, but the issue is not what they think about you. The issue is what God thinks about you. And it's in the text today, and we'll discover that. Watch this. Notice that the text says, and here's my rendering. Now Jabez, his mother called his name Jabez because he will cause pain, saying, I bore him in pain.
Yes.
Yes.
If you read the text, and if you read First Chronicles, one of the things that you'll note that throughout the beginning all the way through probably 9 chapters is nothing but a list of names.
Oh, yes.
Genealogies of names and over names, 600 names. But when you get to chapter 4, verses 9 and 10, something strange happens. God pauses. God takes a time to stop, and God recognizes one name. God says, I got 600 generations of people, but there's one man in the text that deserves recognition. I want to stop and give 2 lines that tell a whole lot about this one man. Now, there wasn't anything special about this man, Jabez. He wasn't anybody famous. He wasn't a great prophet or preacher. He was not a wise ruler over a great nation. He wasn't famous on the field of battle. He wasn't even a great warrior, but he was singled out and remembered for one thing and one thing only. He prayed.
Yes.
Y'all missed it. Y'all missed it. God singled Jabez out because Jabez's character was, rather than being a man of pain, he was a man of prayer. He remembered that he could pray and that he could talk to God, and God heard his prayer. Now, that may not be significant to you, but that's significant to me. Because if God can single me out, if God can see me, if God can take this old dirty, nothing, nobody like me, and God can single me out and just say, that's William, that's my boy, that he knows how to pray, he knows how to get in contact with me, and because he prays, I'll answer his request. That's enough. The text says that his mama named him Jabez. Now, on the surface, y'all, that seems like an insignificant point. But there's significance in his name. Because his name shaped who he was and what he was to become. I told you that the name Jabez means more than just pain. It means distress. It means suffering. It means sorrow. His name was given to him by his mama while she was in childbirth. Can you imagine the negative stigma that followed this boy? Every time they called his name, he was reminded of what he did. I mean, can you imagine going to school and the teacher starts calling the roll and the teacher says, Sorrow, are you in the house? Can you imagine the other teacher looking at your name and rather than calling you Sorrow saying, Pain, are you here? Can you imagine playing in the streets at night and the lights go down and mama stands outside the door and says, Hey, distress, come on in the house. Can you imagine having that kind of name? Because that name predicted what kind of life you would have. Some of us need to be careful what we name our children. Because what we name our children has a tendency to be what they become. I mean, here they are, here he is, and his name signifies what he is. His name said that he was a born loser. His name said that every time you see him, he's going to give you trouble. His name said that whenever you deal with this man, he is going to cause you pain. Can you imagine? They made him a pariah. Nobody wanted to be around him. Nobody wanted to deal with Jabez by the simple fact that his mama didn't think very much of him.
Yes.
Can you imagine coming into this world? The person who's supposed to love you the most
All right.
Yes, Lord.
despises you and names you the way she feels about you. Can you imagine that your own mama
Yes.
dashes your hopes and your dreams? Your own mama gives you a name that makes you a pariah for the rest of your life. Can you imagine? Solomon said that a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver and gold. But Jabez wasn't so fortunate. Jabez didn't have a name that said it was good. But he teaches us something.
Yes.
He teaches us that a man can rise above his situation. He teaches us that a turnaround is possible. Watch. Look at the transformation. Look at how this thing unfolds. The text says, now Jabez was more honorable
Yes.
than his brothers. That word honorable is important. Don't miss it, because it literally means heavy. It literally means burdensome. In the context, it suggests that what Jabez has as honor was weightier in character than what his brothers had. His mama named him wrong. His mama said he wasn't no good, but he turned out better than all of his siblings.
Yes.
Yes.
Here he is. He's got a weighty character. He's got a character that's great. There's a character that's godly. There's a character that says, despite what you call me, I'm not what you call me.
Yes.
How many of us have been called out of our names and accepted it?
Yes, sir.
And how many of us have risen above what they called us and say, I don't care what you call me, I'm better than that. Here he is. Bible said that he's more honorable than his brother. Now what does that mean? That means that he had something that they didn't have. Jabez didn't come from a good family background. He didn't come from people who loved him. His mama named him wrong. His brothers were probably thugs. There's no mention of his father. But here he is. The Bible says that he's honorable. Now what does that mean? That meant that he was honorable not because of his physical pursuits. He was honorable not because of his material or financial or political or social status. He was honorable because he was a godly man.
Yes.
He was honorable because he had a strong moral character. He was honorable because his motives were pure. He was upright. He was blameless. He was honorable because he loved and trusted God.
Yes.
Jabez was honorable.
Mine.
And that's the key right there. The Bible says that he was honorable, but the key there is in the word blessed. It said that he was honorable. He was made honorable above his brother. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't self-righteous, but he was perfect in the eyes of God.
Yes.
I tell somebody that sometimes your circumstances, your background, your bloodline can rob you of your blessing, but it doesn't have to keep you there.
Yes.
Sometimes people will talk about you and make fun of you. Sometimes they will call you out of your name, and sometimes they want it to stick so they can knock you down. But those things don't have to stay that way.
Amen.
And here's the question that screams this morning. How did Jabez go from being a man of pain and sorrow to a man being recognized by God? Well, I'm glad you asked. The text tells us right here
Yes.
that he went from being this man called pain to a man that was honorable. Right here in the text, it says, because Jabez called on the God of Israel.
Yes.
Let's see, you missed your shot. You
Yes,
missed your
sir.
shot. Watch this. When Jabez was born, his mama transferred her pain to him. She said, "You're not going to be any good." She said, "You are going to be pain for everybody you meet. You're going to be trouble everywhere you go." But Jabez said, "No, mama, I'm not going to let you
Yes,
stick me.
yes.
Yes.
No, mama, I'm not going to let you tell me I'm just like I'm no good dad. No, mama, I'm not going to let you tell me that I'm a drunk, I'm a no good. I'm not going to let you stick back on me. Mama, no, what you said is one thing, but I'm not going to be what you said I am."
Yeah.
Here he is. He moves from being a man of sorrow
Yes.
to a man who follows after God. Now, how did he get there? He got there because Jabez called upon God. Jabez became a man of prayer. And can I tell you, when you learn how to pray,
Oh, yeah.
let me help you with that. It says that he prayed to the God of Israel. That means he prayed to the God who spoke and the world came into existence. He prayed to the God who parted the Red Sea. He prayed to the God who was able to take men who were dead and raise them back up again. He prayed to the God who said it wasn't going to rain for 3 years and then spoke it and rained up 3 more years. He prayed to the God who was able to do anything but fail. I need to tell somebody that when you learn how to pray, God will give you honor.
Yes,
Because the text says that he called on the God of Israel. He called on the God he knew was able to do what he could not do.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes.
Well, Jabez was special because of the simple fact that he prayed.
Yes.
He prayed out of his distress. He prayed not a selfish prayer, not a greedy prayer. He simply prayed, "Lord, grant this unto me."
Yeah.
Let me just drop a footnote here. Prayer is available to you too.
Yes, sir.
All you gotta do is pray. You don't have to be special to pray. You don't have to be rich to pray. You don't have to be famous to pray. In fact, the worse off you are, the better you are for praying, because God can really deal with you when you pray passionate prayer.
Yes, Lord.
And so he prays to the God of Israel. But notice that the text says that he called on God. Now, don't miss that, because like a whole lot of us, we like to pray one time and leave it there.
All right now.
When Jabez prayed, it signified an incomplete action, which means that he didn't just pray once. He kept on talking to God. He kept on saying, "Lord, I need you. Lord, I got to have you. Lord, I can't make this journey alone." He kept on praying and talking to God, and God heard his repeated prayers. So he called on God. He learned how to trust in God, and because he trusted God, God began to change things
Yeah, well.
Thank you.
in his life.
Yes, Lord.
That's a word for somebody who's been beaten down. That's a word for somebody who's been messed up. That's a word for somebody who's been ridiculed and scorned. Prayer works.
Yes,
I can't hear nobody. I said prayer works. If you trust God, prayer will work on your behalf and change the direction of your life if you just learn how to pray. Watch what God does, because it's interesting that when he prays, he asks God for 4 things.
Yes.
It's right in the text. He says, "And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, Oh, that you would bless me indeed, and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain." Notice what he says. He said, when he got ready to pray, he says, "I want to pray for spiritual prosperity.
Yes.
Don't miss that. He prayed because he was not satisfied with the status quo. He prayed because he wanted God's blessings upon his life. He prayed because he understood that God was the most important thing in his life. He prayed not because he wanted to be head above everybody, not because he wanted the richest of everything. No, he prayed because he knew he wanted God's best for his life. Are you praying like that? Are you just praying, Lord, give me this and give me that? No. He said, I want to pray for spiritual prosperity. So he prayed out of this deep hunger for God. And notice that he says, Lord, bless me. Now, I found out that a whole lot of time when we say bless me, that's such a generic word. It don't really mean nothing to us because we don't really know what bless me means. But the text in the Hebrew, it kind of is understood two ways. It literally means that it could be asking God for him to do something or believing that God already did it. Watch this. He said, basically, he said this, Lord, I believe that you'll bless me if you see fit. But then he says, Lord, no doubt you'll do it. So when you do it, bless me indeed. See, y'all don't know when to shake it. He said, Lord, bless me. No doubt, maybe if I pray this, you'll answer. But then he stands around, turns around and says, Lord, no, I know when I pray this, you're going to answer. So when you answer, bless me indeed. He said, Lord, not only bless me indeed, he said, would you bless me indeed? Watch this. He's literally saying, Lord, I sense that when I pray this, you're going to bless me. Because, Lord, I know that when I ask you, you're going to bless me anyway. So when you bless me, Lord, don't just trickle down your blessing. Lord, bless me indeed. He said, Lord, give me an energetic blessing. He said, Lord, when you bless me, pour it out. He said, now watch this. He wants us to understand that when you bless me, bless me real good. Lord, when you bless me, don't just trickle it out. Bless me real good. Watch this. The word bless then also means this. It means to kneel. It means that, Lord, when I ask you to bless me, I'm asking you to reach down where I am and kneel down where I am and come down where I am and give me what I'm asking you to give me. In other words, Lord, when I ask you to bless me indeed, come where I am and personally give me the blessing. Well, y'all can't give it. See, all he's saying is, when you give me what you give me, make it personal. God, bring your presence where I am. God, when I ask you, allow your presence to be close to me. Lord, when you bless me, I'm asking that what you do, make it sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. Lord, the only way you can do it is to come right where I am. Jabez said, Lord, when you bless me, bless me indeed.
Yes, Lord.
Then he moves, and I've heard the song, we sing Enlarge My Territory.
All right now.
But we missed what Jabez was really saying. Because when he prays, enlarge my territory, he's asking for the blessing of God's provision. He's saying, Lord, widen my horizons. Enlarge my coast. Basically, when you ask God to do that, you're saying, Lord, take me out of my comfort zone.
Yes.
I'm asking you, Lord, to stretch me. Yeah, okay. See, we don't pray. I'm saying, Lord, stretch me. I'm saying, Lord, enlarge me. I'm saying, Lord, give me more responsibility. He's saying, Lord, I want you to make my coast larger. Give me everything that you promised you give me. And Lord, when you give it to me, don't let me handle it all by myself. That's what he said. He said, I want you to expand my influence. Now, watch what he's doing. He's saying, Lord, I want you to enlarge my territory. Don't confine me. Don't constrict me. Don't restrict me. Don't hold me back. Lord, let me be in charge of everything you want me to be in charge of. So he says, enlarge my territory. Now, because now when you think about it in the context of when it was written, they had land that they hadn't completely taken over. And so he's saying, Lord, I got some land over here I ain't even walked on yet.
All right.
Let me make sure that I take care of all of my territory. So watch this. I'm going to translate it. He says this to us. When you pray, Lord, enlarge my territory, you're saying, whatever it is that's limiting me, whatever it is that's hemming me in, whatever it is that's enslaving me, Lord, remove it. He's saying, whatever it is that has kept me in this habit, whatever it is that stopped me from going farther and rising higher, whatever it is that has held me back, Lord, unleash it, turn it loose. See, the problem is we get satisfied.
All right.
Where we are. We're satisfied with the status quo. We're satisfied with being where we are. We don't like getting out of the comfort zone. But when you say, Lord, enlarge my territory, you're saying, Lord, fill me up. Expand me. Stretch me.
All right.
Enlarge me.
Yes.
A lot of us can't handle that.
All right.
A lot of us can't handle God enlarging us. But notice what he says out of this, because Jabez was a smart man when he prayed. He said, now, when you bless me, and you bless me indeed, when you enlarge my territory, he says, I want you to also do this. Keep me from evil. He said, I want your hand to be with me first. He said, so that you'll keep me from evil that I may not cause pain.
Yes, Lord.
We love singing this song. Lord, enlarge my territory. I pray for increase. Well, you know, increase comes with problems.
Yes, sir.
Increase comes with responsibility.
Yes.
Enlarged borders comes with pressure.
Yes.
Whenever you're asking God to give you something more, there's always something else that comes with it.
Yes, sir.
Jabez understood that when you say, Lord, enlarge my territory, you get what comes with the territory. Your enemies come with the territory. Satan comes with the territory. Responsibility comes with the territory. So when you say, Lord, enlarge my territory, you also better pray, Lord, let your hand be with me.
All right now.
All right.
Jabez understood that he needed God's protection.
Yes.
Because whenever you are in that position where God begins to expand or stretch you, there is some stuff that comes with stretching.
Yes.
So he says, I want your hand to be with me. Now, it's amazing how when he prays for God's hand to be with him, what he literally means. He's saying, Lord, I'm asking for not only your protection, but I'm also asking for your direction. He's saying, when you have your hand with me, that means that your hand is equal to an army. That means, Lord, if I ask you for your hand to protect me, that means that you're going to cover me. Not only will you cover me, but you're going to persuade my enemies to leave me alone. Not only are you going to persuade them to leave me alone, it's with your hand that I see your strength. So I'm also getting your strength. I'm asking you to let your hand subdue my enemies.
Thank you, God.
And when he prays that I want you to also let your hand be my guide. Because he's saying, Lord, be with me. I don't always know which way to go.
Yes.
I don't always know what to do. I don't always know how to get there. So Lord, when you let your hand be with me, that means you're going to guide me. Step of the way. So Jabez asked the Lord to put his hand in his life. So I don't want to be content trying to do this thing on my own. I know I can't handle it on my own. So I'm asking you, Lord, to set my feet on the right path. But notice here what else he says, and I'm almost at my seat. He says this. He says, Lord, not only let your hand guide me, he said, but he asked God to steer him from evil. So it won't cause pain. Wow, you missed that. Watch this. If and when the Lord blesses us, and if and when the Lord enlarges our borders, if and when God puts his hands on us, Satan won't be happy.
Amen.
And Satan knows that whenever he's not happy, he's going to try to wreak havoc in our lives. And so what he does is, Jabez recognizes, so Lord, that I won't wind up where I came from. Y'all missed that. His name means pain. He said, Lord, don't let me be a pain to myself. Lord, don't let me be a pain to everybody else. So he said, Lord, when you bless me, keep me from temptation. When you bless me, don't let me fall back on the old me. When you bless me, don't let me be the old what I used to be. When you bless me, don't let my head get so high. When you bless me, don't let me act like I don't know who I am. When you bless me, protect me. First of all, protect me from me. Protect me from the stuff that I'm capable of. He didn't forget who he was. He didn't forget what he was. He didn't forget what God was doing for him. And so here he is, a man who has the cards stacked against him. But he learned how to turn his life around. He learned that you can turn your life around when you trust in God. Here's the last dog that gave me a shout. Because the last verse says there that after he prayed. See your Bible. It says after he prayed. That God granted him what he requested. See, a whole lot of us can't get excited about that because, see, you miss your shout because you can't get excited that God bless somebody else. But I'm going to tell you, if you just get excited that God bless your neighbor with a car, you can't get excited of the fact that God bless them with a car. You just get excited about the fact that God put a little money in their pocket. That's what happens when you get excited about what God did for them. I guarantee you the God that did it for them will be the same God. That God can I just for a minute go just a little deeper? He uses the word God, and in the Hebrew, it's the word Elohim.
Yes, yes, yes.
It means that God in his power and God in his might. God, when you bless me, grant me according to the way you are able to bless me.
Yes, yes.
He said, now, hey, I want you to understand that when I talk about God, I'm talking about the omnipotent God. I'm talking about the God who has all power. So he says, I'm also talking about a God who is plural. That means Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. So when he said, Lord, when you bless me, I want the Holy Spirit to motivate my prayer. When you bless me, I want the Son to hear my prayer. When you bless me, I want the Father to answer my prayer. I want you to know that God is able to answer your prayer.
Thank you, God.
He said, God granted his request. That word granted means to come. But it also means to come with something in your hand. He said, God, when you show up and you give me your blessing, show up with something in your hand. So I want you to know that when you pray, God,
Thank you, God.
hears your prayer.
All right.
When you pray, God
Go ahead.
will answer your prayer. And when you pray and he answers your prayer, God won't come with empty hands. I stop right here to tell you that when God answers your prayer, he's always got a blessing in his hand. When God answers your prayer, God always has something in his hand. And I'm glad God's got something in his hands for me. I'm glad God's got something in his hands for you. God's got healing in his hands. Maybe God's got life in his hands. Maybe God got what you need in his hand. All you gotta do is pray, and God will come with something in his hand. I stop out here to ask him, what do you need while you pray? And when you pray, just tell God what you need. And when you tell God what you need, he'll come with something in his hand. Maybe you need house note money, just pray God will have it in his hand. Maybe you need your love, keep loving your money, just pray. Pray. Oh Lord, bless me indeed.
Yes.
You know, a whole lot of folk took offense. Because about 20 years ago, Bruce Wilkinson wrote that book, The Prayer of Jabez, and
Yes,
he talked about prosperity.
Uh-huh.
Everybody missed it.
yes.
Because all they heard was, bless me indeed. And God granted his request. But they missed the spiritual aspect of the text.
Yeah.
Because here's a man who made a turnaround. Here's a man who was made to be nothing.
Thank you, God.
But God turned him into something. Here's a man who
Thank you, God.
nobody saw fit to even consider him.
Yes,
Yes.
But God pulled him out of 600 names.
yes, yes.
Wrote 2 verses
Yes.
that proclaimed
Yes.
Yes, Lord.
that he was honored.
Uh-huh.
Yes, Lord.
Proclaimed that he was a praying man.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm in the seat, but I wonder, what will God say about you?
Yes, yes, yes.
How will God describe you?
Well, well.
Now, I'm excited that my name will be in the book.
Yes.
Yes.
And you ought to be excited that your name will be in the book. But what will the book say about you?
Yes, yes,
All right,
yes,
yes. Well,
This is my child. She came to church every Sunday.
yes.
Come on in.
yes.
See, some of y'all can get excited about that.
Well.
I want the Lord to say, this is my child.
Yes.
Yes.
He prayed.
Yes.
He believed.
Yes.
He trusted. about you.
Yes, sir.
I want to encourage you. Pray that prayer. But when you pray that prayer, don't ask God for all of this, all the stuff that they're trying to get you to ask.
Yes,
Look at it from the spiritual aspect.
yes, yes.
And watch and see how God grant your request.
Yes, He will.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, God.
Oh, yeah.
Because you pray and you believe in God. You say, Lord, take me from where I am and take me where you want me to be. And Lord, all that you give me in your name, that I'll stand on this ground for your name. You got some territory you need to claim. You got some children that's your territory.